Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming, and finally some fresh Monster Hunter talk. Wilds has been on its familiar cycle of a cooler phase later in a title update, as we now ramp up to the next one. Now we have this title update 3 coming around the corner with a collab event, and we have some new information about title update 3, as well as new reveals that are coming from the Tokyo Game Show, and a playable demo there, and some information about the Final Fantasy collab side of things too. So let's get into it. For one, we're definitely about to get the release date of Title Update 3. For the moment, all we know is it's the end of September. I expect the very end, like as late as they can go. But we will get some new information about Title Update 3 with this announcement. This is all thanks to the Tokyo Game Show. We know these things. They're running a demo version of the Omega Hunt, which I'll explain in a moment, but as part of that information, this Google Translate tells us this. Details of the third free title update will be announced during the TGS 2025 Capcom online program, which will be streamed from 11 PM on Wednesday, September 24th. So in a matter of days, we're going to get new info, but what is that going to be? Well, of course, we're expecting the full trailer for Title Update 3, which will feature, no doubt, some actual Omega gameplay, and probably a few story notes from what we can expect. We know that Alpha is going to return with Final Fantasy XIV's version of Omega, which at that time was basically inside of a little Omega toy, so they're not going to be the most impactful allies in terms of combat, but I'm sure they're going to guide us through and understand what's going on with Omega and this planet's version, and will be a key part of how we succeed. In the meantime, we do have one tiny tease we got, which is about the Cactuar, which, you know, are back in this collab too, since we had them in the world version. The way we're looking at these, it definitely reminds me of the rare endemic life of the desert, you know, the little blue mouse. They zoom ultra fast away from you if you get close, so expect they're going to be very hard to catch. But for collectors, you probably want to try like an endemic life. Maybe the ghillie mantle will help. I remember in World, there was like a really impactful trap with these guys, so I'm wondering whether we'll get some sort of environmental use out of them while we're on hunts. Now, if you're wondering about that demo version of the Planet's Quest that is currently available at WithSim, they've told us very little, but they did say this. There's a special trial version. You have to do it in multiplayer, so the group of people in groups of 4 to let people play, and it's of course intended for experienced hunters. They tell us that this demo version has been adjusted, so it'll probably work differently at release, and it looks like you might win a novelty pouch, probably if you actually win and defeat Omega, and they have a limited number of them, so yeah, they're not expecting everyone to win it with Sim. I wonder if they've made it even harder in that demo version than the live version. I've played early demo versions that are way harder than the launch version. In fact, the best one I ever played was a Dark Souls 2 one, where they created a unique level that ended with a mirror knight fight while you were really low level, which certainly didn't exist as a level layout in the full game. Something else they put out for this was these images. 14 weapon images with information about different sets tied to them. Using some basic translate features, I could at least look at it like this, and we can see that it's information about the weapons you're given, say if you pick a charge blade. It seems you'll be given 2 charge blades, so your main one will be a thunder weapon, your second one will be a fire weapon, and that's the case across the board for all these options. To me, this suggests that Omega will be weak to thunder as its main weakness, with the next best weakness being fire. Or it could be that Omega changes during the fight, which would completely fit the theme of this enemy. Maybe during different modes, it's weak to one element and not the other, and then it swaps so you swap. That'd be a great way to include the mechanic of the sacred weapon swap. So what do you guys think? Now, one question people have right now is if we're going to get different monsters alongside Omega. The updates so far have been multiple. You had high ranks Oshia and Mizitsune in TU1. Of course, you had lagiacrus and seregios in TU2. Where, while lagiacrus was incredible and, you know, a return for a fan favorite in a really great way, seregios was surprisingly good too, especially with how difficult it was. We also know there's going to be a 9-star version of every new monster from here on, so will there be like an 8-star Omega and then a special 9-star, or will it just start as a 9-star? Probably. One key aspect of Omega though is the FF14's version and its ability to create and transform. We could face Omega in one form and then a second form that's slightly different, maybe separate hunts. It could be that Omega creates something for us to fight, like it constructs as a monster, tying into the whole Guardian concept. Or of course, it could just be Omega in its one storyline that will still be involved and varied in itself. We'll see. So that's the information we have currently about Omega. Let's talk about what we do know about Title Update 3 thanks to a pile of the guild reports about upcoming features that are all based on feedback from the player base. First up, we have guild report number 31. As part of our continued improvement efforts, we're introducing additional tempered monsters at 9-star in Title Update 3, which we knew they would do, but now we know some of what they are. Amazingly, we're getting 9-star tempered versions of Blangonga, Anjanath, and Ajarakan, which will be alternating event quests, with important rewards like glowing stones, heavy armor spheres, and that kind of thing. These 9-star versions will offer a new level of challenge, so take them on if you dare. This is fantastic. Something that I've been hoping for in the future is 9-star versions of tier 2 monsters. They said they would do more in form of event quests, and it looks like that's what we're getting here. So we're starting with these 3, but I'm hoping we're not waiting too long for a Zuu version, which will be the thing I'm most excited for. Then we have Guild Report 30. There's going to be some Palico adjustments in Title Update 3. They're adding a feature to toggle the Palico support moves on or off. When using Wrath from above, Palicos will cancel it and prioritize healing the player if needed. And they're giving us an option in the settings to adjust Palico dialogue frequency. I'll probably turn that down myself. Very nice to see, and obviously the Wrath from above, the whole cannon fire thing, it does kind of control the Palico for a while. So if you go down during that, you don't get a revive or you won't get a heal for a while. It's good that it's now going to have a priority. I think the whole feature to toggle on support moves and toggle them off probably is more of a speedrunner kind of quality of life thing. But yeah, welcome. Then we have Guild Report 29. As part of our continued improvements, we'd like to share following updates to the lobbies and hunter friends included in TU3. They're adding an option when creating a private lobby to allow hunter friends to join, so they'll be able to join via lobby search and then into a hunter friend search menu. They're also adding new options to link party settings to allow other hunter friends to join and set passcode. But this should really be nice for online play. If you make a private lobby, any of your friends or hunter friends specifically will be able to join you without you having to stop and find them, give them a code, invite, whatever. Obviously, it's been pretty convoluted, the whole online system, and they made it a lot better, but I'll take more improvements. Next, we have Guild Report 28. They're revising the event quest lineup for TU3 to make it easier to gather armor spheres, ingredients, and ore. So, tongue-tied, wrecking havoc in Wyvria and careening out of control will be permanent from their release. Otherwise, we're going to get a weekly rotation of other event quests that give ingredients, and then one that's going to be permanently available for the purpose of ore. So, if you need to grind some materials, ingredients in general for cooking, get your armor upgraded since they actually increase the amount you can upgrade your armor back in TU2. There's now going to be these permanent options to help us do that, which is obviously great. Next, we have a quick one from Guild Report 27 to do with support hunters. They're actually increasing the base attack and defense of them. This is something that needed to happen because they introduced the 9-star quests, but then didn't buff support hunters, because they didn't exactly have time to do that to bring the 9-star quests in sooner. They're also adding a new support hunter, Kai, who's a hunting horn user. So if you were using support hunters, they're going to be back in action. For Guild Report 26, they're putting in more improvements to the little item box that's outside of tents now. You're going to be able to view loadouts from that item box to check your item loadouts, equipment loadouts, and equipment appearance loadouts, as well as different shortcuts. So that should be another way we don't have to go through the animation to go in the tent if you want to be really quick and just use the box. From all the reports that we've seen before, we know that there's going to be a link equipment appearance option added in TU3, which basically allows you to swap your visual sets to match the armor sets that you're changing. So I could have a visual setup for my loadout when I'm using a dual blade set. Then I choose like a longsword set that's linked to an equipment appearance set. And then my visuals, my layered armor and weapons completely change as I do that in one smooth transition. Sounds awesome. Lastly, from Guild Report 24 that we knew about, some changes coming in TU3 is the fact that lagiacrus is crazily going to show up in the arena, so no underwater section. Quests are going to appear that feature pack monsters that are going to be heavily rewarded, like heavy armor spheres. So herding monsters of Dashagama, Hirabami, and Yenkoku. They're making it so mental cooldowns reset the moment you start a quest, which is amazing. And monsters are going to mess with pop-up camps a lot less. All of this is pretty fantastic. As one fun bonus for this video, they have revealed one event quest coming in Title Update 3, which is these stake blades, which is just ridiculous. These might be the first silly dual blades I actually used for a bit of fun. And I did say that they're actually revealing some details for the Final Fantasy XIV Monster Hunter Wilds collab for the FF14 side of things. So if you're an FF14 player, you're starting to see what's coming. So we're seeing for your ninjas, we've got these dual blades from Arkveld. I imagine that's a Dark Knight with the great sword there. Of course, the insect glaive with the dragoon. And while I thought it was the warrior with the hammer there, apparently that's the black mage. Like you're casting spells from the hammer. There's no way. Anyway, we get some looks at, say, the sacred as a mount. There's going to be a baby sacred as a pet, I imagine, as well as a vigor wasp, which looks cool. This looks like some housing features where you've got the hunter camp stuff, which is really nice. We do get some light details to do with the arkveld sort of raid boss, which look really cool in these images. Here's some Google Translate information we have. What came to the adventure was a mysterious letter, together with a client, Eru of the Journey, and the reliable riding animal that's obviously sacred. Chase the monster of knowledge, the guardian dragon arkveld, not arshveld. Eat well grilled meat and be fully prepared. And you'll need a healing potion, great. Maybe that's a mega potion to hunt arkveld. Apparently the average item level you'll need is 725. But then there's the extreme version. They're also introducing an extreme version right off the bat. The average item level for this will be 740, and they say it's an exceptionally fierce hunting battle that adventurers who successfully hunted the dragons can challenge. So I imagine you have to beat the original one, and then special rewards come from that. Maybe that's where you get the weapons and that kind of thing. But yeah, obviously that's Final Fantasy XIV, so not too relevant for us, but worth just a quick look at. Let me know what you guys are thinking about all the stuff we talked about today. Is there anything you're hoping for, or anything that you found that I've missed? Either way, we'll learn more very soon on the 24th of September. So until then, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.